Let me first suggest that I'd like to offer my congratulations to all the class of 2006. And I'd like to suggest also, Don, I thank you for the introduction because you didn't read all that stuff I sent you. But the other side of the coin is there was one part that I wish you had mentioned. And that is that I grew up in an era, and Ed grew up in the same era to a degree, when we were the short shorts. And there has been a contest ever since those short shorts as to who had the best legs. And I just want to announce tonight that in case anybody didn't know, you're looking at it, okay? But really, the era that I grew up in, and I might suggest also one thing before I go further, is that one of the first people I met when I went to the University of Maryland, and I haven't seen him in the last 50 years plus, was Bob Andrus. Bob was a roommate or a friend of Earl Roth, who was in fact a teammate of Ed's here at PS. And it's nice to see you again, Bob. How can I ever forget and what sports have meant to me, and that simply is like suggesting that I remember how it all got started. Brother Art in the living room of the house. As soon as the folks went out to play bridge or something and the car went out the driveway, the coffee table was off to the side. He got the football out. He'd give me the football and Ed'd be on his knees and I was supposed to get by him. And that's how we got started in sports in our house. And then he'd take me over to the park. We had a park right across the street. And he'd throw passes to me. And this is at the night and the night. Let me tell you something, the trees don't move, and you have a long, hard night when you run into some of those things. So, but that was how I got started in this whole thing. When I look even further, and I suggest to myself, how can anybody ever forget, and I know most of you here will never remember or don't know what this is all about, going down to the People's Settlement and playing basketball, when you used to play the ball off the wall on 3 walls. There was a 4-foot railing, and you could throw the ball against the ball, get it back, throw it, get it back. And so that was what basketball was back in those very early days. And how can I not remember going out to a church off Rockford Tower out there when they had pillars in the middle of the basketball court. They made a heck of a screen when you were going with them, but they were tough to move when you were coming the other direction, let me tell you. So I grew up in an era when things were so totally different than what they are today. Even in high school and college, and even through the service. What can I think in terms of the only uniform thing during that whole time was the free throw lane and the height of the basket. Because the courts were all different sizes, the height of the ceilings were all different, the width was all different, the backboards were all different. We used to grow up and we had square backboards, wood backboards, then they went to fan backboards, then they went to tin backboards, then they went to glass and wood backboards, then they went to glass backboards. So you never knew what you were going to participate with or what you were going to be faced with at any point in time. But it was a great era to grow up because you had experiences that you'll never get or I never would able to have been received any other way. And that simply is, I went to Maryland, I'm a freshman, and what's my roommate? I had 2 roommates. Both of them were veterans of the European conflict. You're maturing as you're playing, you're maturing as you're living. You're living in an era that is just absolutely unbelievable. And it's something that I'm sure that there's nothing, no way I can replace those memories and what they meant to me. I can remember really, and why do I remember it? Where was I on Pearl Harbor Day? I was listening to a football game. Where was I in VJ Day? I was at Eden Park playing baseball. And so it's those kinds of things that nobody will ever be able to take away from me that have just enhanced and enriched my life. They provided really the values of life. Where do you learn better than in the form of athletics and sports, the spirit of competition, winning and losing, learning from both. Discipline, effort, hard work, sacrifice, ability to get along, camaraderie, teamwork, preparation, and practice. Let me suggest to you also that if preparation and practice were to be measured by the numbers of nights I woke up in the middle of the night wondering what I was going to say tonight, I'd be the best prepared guy in the world. But it doesn't work that way, let me say that. Acceptance, respect, appreciation. And these are just to name a few of the values in life that you get exposed to when you're growing up in the sports arena. There is one thing that seems to me needs to be addressed, and I know I'm going to tread on many people's toes when I make the comment. I would like to provide a little food for thought, however. In my opinion, I think the emphasis today, as kids are growing up, are on the wrong things. The wrong things meaning they're more on wins and losses. The wrong things meaning they're more on uniforms. The wrong things are how they're dressed, how the court looks, how the field looks. Really what we ought to be teaching the kids today is what the appreciation for the sport, so that these kids, many of them aren't going to go any further than at the level they're participating in now. And if we can just do one thing, and that's leave them with an appreciation for the sport in which they're participating, that's really what growing up is all about. They'll be able to make decisions when the time comes as to where they want to go. They should be able to play all sports. I just read an article within the past week or so in the paper that suggested that, and I don't know where this came from, of course, Ed might have a better idea, but that J.J. Redick was required to make a decision when he was 12 years old. Now, J.J. Redick is one of the best best college basketball players in the country, who went to Duke, had an outstanding career. He was required to make a decision when he was 12 years old as to what sport he was going to play. He wanted to play baseball, he wanted to play basketball, but he had to make a decision. Who at 12 years old is ready to make a decision on what sport they're going to play? Delina, would you know? No, it's just not possible for any of us. Now, I have a feeling that the person who may have encouraged him to make a decision may have gone, and I don't know the guy's name, but like Coach K or something like that. But now, there are a few things there are some people I'd like to acknowledge with all of this, and that simply is to say that, and I wish you would just wait, if you would, until I introduce them all, and then they all deserve a round of applause. Joe and Cass Hall, they worked tirelessly and worked hard to make this day happen for me, and I really appreciate that. Jim and Les Sylvanus, you know, Jim has kept the 34th Street gang together, and that's the gang where we used to grow up together, and they're all represented here tonight. And I really appreciate all of you coming out. We have some people that have traveled some distances to get here to participate and help in the celebration. My friends, the Lewises from Annapolis. We have Charlotte and Fred, of course, who came down from New Jersey. Unfortunately, another friend from New York who couldn't make it in tonight due to the illness with his mother. Then there's Brother Ed and his family. You know, I used to hang on every word he used to offer up. But his words over the years have gotten a little bit more tainted. The Dookie Blue keeps showing through. And unfortunately, that tends to influence the grandkids, and he has two of his children here tonight who I was fortunate enough to guess where I was on April the 4th. Linda and I were in Boston at the women's Final Four. And if any of you don't remember who participated, it was the Terps of Maryland versus the Dookies. And guess who came out? Fear the Turtles, baby, fear the Turtles. And then, of course, my immediate family. The grandkids are just delighted as all heck to be here tonight. They got out of homework for tonight. She said, you know, what more could they ask for? And it's great to have all of them here. And then last and not least, certainly, but without her and without the opportunity that she allows me to continue to indulge these fantasies of mine and in the sports world, my wife, Linda. And to all of you, I say thanks.